Welcome to Whispered Tales, where stories inspire growth and transformation. Today, we explore how to build a CEO mindset, the story of cultivating vision, leadership, and unstoppable drive. Ethan Carter had always admired leaders, the people who seemed to command respect effortlessly and create results wherever they went. But in his early career, he struggled to make decisions, delegate responsibility, and inspire others. He realized that a CEO mindset wasn't just about titles or power. It was about thinking strategically, acting decisively, and embracing accountability. One evening, Ethan reflected on the leaders he respected most. They all shared common traits: clarity of vision, resilience under pressure, a focus on results, and the ability to inspire trust. He understood that building a CEO mindset required more than ambition. It required a deliberate shift in thinking, behavior, and habits. That night, he committed to studying, practicing, and embodying these qualities in his own life. Ethan started by examining his daily routines and thought patterns. He noticed that reactive thinking, indecision, and fear of failure had held him back. To break free, he decided to adopt a proactive approach. Every decision would be deliberate, every action purposeful, and every mistake a lesson. By the end of this chapter, Ethan understood the first principle of a CEO mindset. Awareness of habits and intentional action are the foundation of leadership growth. Ethan realized that the next step in building a CEO mindset was clarity of vision. He understood that CEOs don't simply react to events, they create a future and work systematically towards it. To develop this, he began writing a personal and professional vision statement. He asked himself profound questions. Where do I want to be in 5 years? What impact do I want to create? What legacy do I want to leave? By articulating these answers in detail, Ethan created a mental blueprint that guided every decision, big or small. He also explored the power of strategic thinking. Instead of focusing on daily tasks alone, Ethan started zooming out, analyzing market trends, understanding business dynamics, and anticipating challenges. He realized that CEOs always think 2 to 3 steps ahead, considering both immediate actions and long-term consequences. This mindset allowed him to approach problems with foresight, turning obstacles into opportunities rather than crises. Another critical element Ethan focused on was prioritization and focus. He noticed that distractions, busy work, and trying to please everyone had previously diluted his impact. CEOs, he observed, decide what truly matters, delegate the rest, and focus relentlessly on high-value activities. Ethan created a system where each day began with identifying the top 3 priorities that would move him closer to his vision. Even routine tasks were approached strategically with a question in mind: does this action align with my ultimate goals? By the end of this chapter, Ethan had embraced the principle that a CEO mindset starts with vision, strategic thinking, and disciplined focus. These were not abstract concepts, they were actionable daily habits that would shape his leadership and success in tangible ways. He now felt a spark of confidence. If he could maintain this clarity and focus consistently, he could start thinking, acting, and leading like a CEO. With clarity of vision in place, Ethan realized that self-discipline and accountability were the pillars of a CEO mindset. He noticed that ambition alone was not enough. Without structure and follow-through, goals remained distant dreams. To cultivate discipline, he designed a daily schedule that maximized productivity while allowing time for reflection and learning. Each morning began with reviewing his vision, setting daily priorities, and preparing mentally for challenges. He also embraced personal accountability. Instead of blaming circumstances, colleagues, or external factors, Ethan took full responsibility for his actions and outcomes. When a project fell short, he analyzed his decisions and identified how he could improve next time. This mindset gradually rewired his approach to challenges. Failure became a feedback loop, not a source of discouragement. He noticed that colleagues and team members began trusting him more because his integrity and reliability were evident in every interaction. Another crucial insight was decision-making under uncertainty. CEOs often face high-stakes choices without complete information. Ethan practiced making decisions quickly, learning to weigh risks, anticipate outcomes, and commit confidently. Initially, the pressure was intense, but he realized that indecision often created more problems than calculated risk-taking. By the end of this chapter, Ethan had learned that a CEO mindset combines structured discipline, personal accountability, and decisive action, all of which turn vision into reality. Ethan's next focus was emotional intelligence and leadership presence, the subtle but critical skills that separate good managers from visionary CEOs. He noticed early on that technical knowledge alone was insufficient. To lead effectively, he needed to understand people, influence their decisions, and inspire trust. He began observing colleagues, mentors, and leaders, studying how they communicated, handled conflict, and motivated teams. He discovered that self-awareness was the foundation. Ethan reflected on his strengths, weaknesses, triggers, and values. By understanding himself deeply, he could regulate emotions, remain calm under pressure, and respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. He also practiced empathy, actively listening to others, asking questions, and acknowledging perspectives without judgment. This earned him respect, built strong relationships, and allowed him to align team members toward shared goals. Another key element was communication mastery. Ethan practiced clear, concise, and confident communication in every interaction. He learned to articulate vision compellingly, provide constructive feedback, and inspire action. Over time, he observed a transformation. Colleagues began following his guidance not because of authority, but because of credibility, clarity, and trust. By the end of this chapter, Ethan realized that a CEO mindset is not only about strategy and decisions, it is about emotional intelligence, influence, and the ability to lead people effectively toward a shared vision. Ethan now turned his attention to resilience and adaptability, qualities essential for any CEO navigating uncertainty. He realized that the business world was unpredictable. Projects failed, markets shifted, and unexpected challenges arose daily. Rather than being overwhelmed, Ethan learned to view obstacles as opportunities to learn and grow. Every setback became a lesson in problem-solving, creativity, and patience. He also discovered the importance of mental flexibility. Instead of rigidly sticking to one plan, he learned to pivot quickly when circumstances changed. For instance, a marketing initiative he had invested heavily and initially failed, but by analyzing data, seeking feedback, and adjusting the strategy, he turned it into a major success. This taught him that leaders thrive not because they never face challenges, but because they respond effectively when plans change. Another critical insight was the connection between persistence and long-term vision. CEOs achieve extraordinary results by combining patience with relentless effort. Ethan embraced the idea that progress is often incremental, requiring consistent action even when immediate results are not visible. By the end of this chapter, he had internalized a vital truth: resilience, adaptability, and unwavering focus on long-term vision enable a CEO to navigate uncertainty and turn challenges into opportunities. Ethan realized that decision-making and prioritization were central to a CEO mindset. Every day presented countless choices, some critical, others trivial. He noticed that successful leaders focused their energy on decisions that had the greatest impact, delegating smaller tasks whenever possible. By practicing intentional prioritization, Ethan freed mental space for high-value activities and strategic thinking.
He also learned the importance of data-driven thinking. CEOs rely on facts, insights, and patterns rather than assumptions. Ethan began analyzing reports, market trends, and internal performance metrics before making major decisions. This approach reduced errors, increased confidence in his choices, and helped him anticipate potential pitfalls. Another key lesson was balancing risk and opportunity. CEOs are comfortable with calculated risks, understanding that progress often requires stepping into uncertainty. Ethan began evaluating risks methodically, assessing probability, consequences, and contingency plans. Over time, he became more decisive and confident, understanding that avoiding risk often leads to stagnation. By the end of this chapter, Ethan had grasped that effective decision-making, prioritization, and calculated risk-taking are the hallmarks of a CEO mindset. Ethan's journey now focused on time mastery and efficiency, another defining trait of successful CEOs. He noticed that leaders maximize output without burning out by managing energy, attention, and schedule strategically. To develop this skill, Ethan began analyzing how he spent every hour of his day, identifying distractions, low-value tasks, and time-wasting habits. He implemented a time-blocking system, dedicating focused intervals to high-priority tasks while leaving room for reflection and learning. Meetings, communications, and routine responsibilities were streamlined or delegated, allowing Ethan to concentrate on work that directly influenced goals and growth. He also scheduled regular breaks and periods for creativity, realizing that mental energy is as crucial as time management. Another key lesson was the discipline of saying no. Opportunities and requests constantly appeared, but not all aligned with his vision. By politely declining tasks that didn't contribute to strategic goals, Ethan preserved focus and maintained momentum on impactful initiatives. By the end of this chapter, he had internalized that time mastery, focus, and disciplined prioritization are essential to building a CEO mindset and creating exponential impact. Ethan soon realized that continuous learning and self-development were non-negotiable elements of a CEO mindset. While ambition and strategy were essential, the ability to adapt, innovate, and grow intellectually distinguished exceptional leaders. He committed to reading widely, studying business trends, learning from mentors, and analyzing both successes and failures of companies around the world.
He discovered that CEOs never stop learning. They actively seek knowledge in areas outside their immediate expertise, from economics and psychology to technology and leadership practices. Ethan began dedicating time daily to learning, listening to podcasts, reading case studies, and reflecting on lessons learned. Over time, this habit expanded his thinking, improved decision-making, and inspired creativity. Additionally, Ethan embraced feedback as a tool for growth. Instead of fearing criticism, he actively solicited input from colleagues, mentors, and team members. Each piece of feedback, whether positive or negative, became a chance to refine skills, improve strategy, and strengthen leadership presence. By the end of this chapter, Ethan had fully embraced the principle that lifelong learning, intellectual curiosity, and openness to feedback are crucial for cultivating a CEO mindset. Ethan's next lesson centered on visionary thinking and long-term planning. He realized that CEOs are not just problem solvers, they are architects of the future. They anticipate trends, prepare for challenges, and build organizations capable of sustained success. To cultivate this mindset, Ethan began spending time each week mapping out 5- and 10-year goals, envisioning the future he wanted to create, and reverse engineering actionable steps to reach that vision. He also learned the power of big-picture focus. While daily operations and tasks demanded attention, Ethan understood that obsessing over minor details could distract from strategic goals. By consistently aligning decisions with long-term objectives, he ensured that every action contributed meaningfully to growth. Another critical insight was communicating vision effectively. A CEO mindset isn't just about having a vision, it's about inspiring others to share it. Ethan practiced articulating ideas clearly, telling compelling stories, and engaging his team in a way that created ownership and excitement. By the end of this chapter, he recognized that visionary thinking, long-term planning, and the ability to inspire others are cornerstones of a CEO mindset. Ethan now focused on building resilience under pressure, a hallmark of every successful CEO. He realized that leadership was tested most during crises, when stakes are high and outcomes uncertain. Rather than avoiding pressure, he learned to embrace it as an opportunity to demonstrate competence and composure. Each challenging situation became a training ground for mental toughness and strategic thinking. He also explored stress management and emotional control. CEOs remain calm not because problems disappear, but because they have learned to regulate reactions and maintain clarity under pressure. Ethan practiced techniques such as deep reflection, meditation, and focused breathing, which allowed him to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Another vital lesson was the ability to turn failure into opportunity. Setbacks were inevitable, but Ethan reframed them as experiments, analyzing what went wrong, extracting lessons, and applying improvements in the next challenge. Over time, he observed that resilience, emotional regulation, and learning from adversity not only strengthened his confidence, but also inspired trust in his leadership. By the end of this chapter, Ethan had embraced the principle that resilience, composure, and adaptability under pressure are essential for a CEO mindset. Ethan's journey now led him to networking, influence, and relationship building, key pillars of a CEO mindset. He realized that a leader's success is often amplified by the people around them. Ethan began cultivating relationships with mentors, industry peers, and talented professionals who shared his values and ambitions. By building a network of trust and collaboration, he created opportunities for learning, partnerships, and support in challenging times. He also learned the art of persuasion and influence. CEOs rarely command by authority alone. They inspire action through credibility, empathy, and clear communication. Ethan practiced framing ideas compellingly, listening actively, and aligning others' motivations with his vision. Gradually, he noticed that people were not only willing to follow his lead, but also proactively contributed ideas and solutions. Another important realization was mutual value creation. Networking was not about taking, it was about creating win-win situations. Ethan made it a habit to support others' growth, offer guidance, and share resources generously. This created a strong foundation of trust and loyalty. By the end of this chapter, Ethan understood that building meaningful relationships, mastering influence, and contributing value to others are indispensable aspects of a CEO mindset. Ethan's next focus was innovation and problem-solving, the essence of leadership in a rapidly changing world. He realized that a CEO mindset required not just managing existing operations, but identifying new opportunities, challenging conventional thinking, and creating solutions that drive growth. To develop this, Ethan began analyzing industry trends, exploring emerging technologies, and encouraging creative thinking in every team he led. He discovered that curiosity fuels innovation. Ethan asked questions constantly. Why is this process done this way? Can it be improved? What if we approached it differently? These questions sparked experimentation and led to small, incremental improvements that compounded into substantial innovations over time. Another key lesson was embracing calculated risk in innovation. Not every idea would succeed, but hesitation or fear of failure would stifle growth. Ethan encouraged a culture of experimentation, where ideas were tested quickly, feedback was analyzed, and learning was immediate. By the end of this chapter, he understood that innovation, curiosity, and smart risk-taking are central to cultivating a CEO mindset and ensuring long-term success. Ethan now turned his attention to mentorship and team empowerment, realizing that a CEO mindset isn't just about personal success, it's about developing others and multiplying impact through people. He began mentoring colleagues, identifying talent, and delegating responsibility in ways that allowed team members to grow while contributing meaningfully to organizational goals. He discovered that empowering others requires trust and clear communication. Ethan practiced providing guidance without micromanaging, setting expectations while giving autonomy. This approach not only built confidence in his team, but also created a culture of accountability, collaboration, and shared purpose. Another critical lesson was leading by example. Ethan understood that words alone were insufficient. His actions needed to reflect the values, discipline, and mindset he expected from others. By modeling resilience, ethical behavior, and strategic thinking, he inspired the team to adopt similar practices. By the end of this chapter, Ethan had internalized a key principle. A true CEO mindset combines vision, resilience, discipline, emotional intelligence, and strategic decision-making. Ethan's journey progressed as he focused on financial literacy and strategic resource management, a crucial element of any CEO mindset. He realized that understanding money, investments, budgets, and financial risks was essential not only for business success, but for informed decision-making. Ethan began studying financial statements, market trends, and key performance indicators, learning to interpret data and make decisions that maximized value while minimizing risk. He also embraced resource optimization. Every decision, from staffing to technology investment, was assessed for efficiency and impact. Ethan learned that CEOs must balance short-term needs with long-term growth, allocating time, money, and energy strategically. He practiced evaluating trade-offs, prioritizing high-impact initiatives, and cutting activities that didn't align with the organization's goals. Another key insight was the mindset of abundance and reinvestment. Instead of hoarding resources or fearing scarcity, Ethan approached opportunities with a mindset of growth and reinvestment. Profits, knowledge, and talent were leveraged to create additional value. By the end of this chapter, he understood that financial literacy, resource management, and a growth-oriented approach to assets are integral to cultivating a CEO mindset. Ethan's journey culminated in the full embodiment of a CEO mindset. He had learned that being a CEO is not defined by a title, but by thinking strategically, acting decisively, leading people effectively, and embracing responsibility for outcomes. Over years of practice, reflection, and disciplined action, he had transformed his approach to work, relationships, and life itself. He understood that a CEO mindset combines vision, resilience, discipline, emotional intelligence, and strategic decision-making. It is about continuously learning, innovating, and empowering others, all while staying grounded in values and purpose. Ethan also recognized that true leadership requires courage to make tough decisions, to challenge the status quo, and to inspire teams to achieve goals beyond their imagination. Finally, Ethan reflected on the core principle that guided his transformation. Leadership starts within. By cultivating clarity, discipline, empathy, vision, and resilience, anyone can develop a mindset that drives extraordinary success. Thank you for watching Whispered Tales. Ethan's journey shows that building a CEO mindset is about more than ambition. It's about strategic thinking, disciplined action, emotional intelligence, and empowering others. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring tales and practical life lessons. Next time, we'll bring you another story that motivates, teaches, and helps you live your best life. Remember, your mindset determines your leadership. Cultivate it, challenge yourself, and lead with purpose.